Namaste, everyone. I think we can start now. It's close to the holidays, so it's our last meeting in this year. And it's a lesson that it's actually split in two parts because it's a long one, and the meditation that we will do in the end. We will repeat it in some form today and the next time we meet. It's a meditation that we did here in Romania with class for meditation, and they felt the need to repeat it. So for this reason, I will do it 2 times. You see that we have a new format now. It's a meeting, not a webinar, so it's much easier to ask question directly, just opening the mics and not waiting for writing or someone to see you. But for this, please keep your mics closed until you need them for asking the questions, so that nobody hears what you do in your house. And now we will start. Today we will speak about tattvas. Tattva, it's a very important concept, not only in Shaivism, but in yoga and in Indian philosophy in general. There is some form of tattvas even in Jainism or in Buddhism. So it's an important concept to learn and understand. So what tattva means? Usually it's translated by principle or essence or reality. Actually, they usually put this word, split this word in two, tat tvam. You remember that in retreats there are those affirmation in Vedanta, one of them being tattvam asi, you are that, you are the divine. So tattvam, tat means that, referring to the quality to the divine, and tvam means you, so the individual. So tattvam is this place in which the divine and individual meet. There are actually two dimensions of these tattvas. One personal, the way we feel them, the way we experience them in our microcosm, and one external, universal, the way in which the universe is manifested. So this concept of tattva appeared very early in the Indian philosophy. Some say that was first encountered in around 2000 BCE, so for 4,000 years ago. But it was more systematic presented in Samkhya Karika, which is a classical text of Samkhya philosophy on which yoga, classical yoga, is based. So Yoga Sutras of Patanjali uses this Samkhya philosophy, and in Samkhya the sage Kapila, which lived around 7th century BCE, so 2000, oh, long time ago. Long time ago. So, Samkhya was an interesting philosophy because they said stay and observe the world and understand the world. So they sit and watched and came to this conclusion that the world is composed of 25 principles, 25 essence. They are like building blocks of the universe. Samkhya was an atheistic philosophy, so without God. They only get to Purusha, which was spirit. It was without God, atheistic, but still spiritual. They saw that there is a consciousness, a spirit in all that is. But sure, they saw these 25 categories of existence, categories of manifestation. Again, they are like building blocks, like bricks. From their combination and the way they appear in the world, all the things are present and manifest. Usually, what we usually know about tattvas are the five in Samkhya and in Shaiva, they are called Mahabhutas, which means the five gross elements or great elements. Maha means great, big. So these five Mahabhutas are present in a lot of ways in which people see the world. For example, they are present even in Western occultism and spirituality when we speak about earth, water, fire, air. So these Mahabhutas are the most manifest, the extreme part of manifestation. The way in which we will present these tattvas is called samhara krama. Just a moment, because I came prepared today with because the last time you wanted to see the words, not just hear them. So you can see on the screen how it's spelled tattva in Sanskrit. I tried to use the standard transliteration from Sanskrit to Latin alphabet, but sometimes maybe I didn't do a very good job, but I hope it's easier to understand. So, like I said, there are two ways in which these tattvas can be presented and explained. One is called samhara, you can see on the bottom, samhara krama, which means resorption. So in this case, the tattvas are presented from the lower, the most material one, to the most spiritual one. The other way to present them is called srishti krama, which means the creation. And the creation starts from the top to the bottom. Why is this important? Because they considered Earth like the end of creation, is the extreme point. There is nothing beyond Earth in this manifestation. Everything is in this part of the creation, yes. So when we will start in this samkhya krama. Krama means succession, the step-by-step approach. So samkhya krama, it's usually done when you want to evolve. You go from the lower point to the highest point. And our meditation will follow this samkhya krama and also the presentation of these tattvas. So I will increase the pace of presentation because the time flies. The 5 gross elements, mahabhutas, the great elements. Yes, maha means big. Again, to keep the pace with the text, you can see here on the screen the way that they are categorized, split in categories. So the 5 gross or great elements, pancha mahabhuta. Pancha means 5. So pancha mahabhuta, 5 great elements. Then 5 subtle elements, pancha tanmatra. Then the 5 motor organs, the organs for action, the things that allows us or anything in universe to act. So these are the pancha karmendriya. Karma means action. Sure, we know karma means that thing that comes after you if you done some bad, but karma actually means action. And for sure, like in physics, any action has a reaction. So for this reason, karma is associated with the consequences of your action. But at the beginning, karma just means action. Karmendriya, indriya means organ, mean for action. And then 5 sense organs, pancha jnanendriyas. Jnana means knowledge, indriya, organ. So they are the 5 senses. Then it's the internal instrument, which is called antahkarana. This antahkarana, we will speak about it later. I just want to present them in general way. Antahkarana means the internal instrument, and usually it's made by the mind, the lower mind, the intellect, the higher mind, and the ego, ahankara, the instrument of the I, the aham, the higher I. And then are 2 in the interdependent tattvas, which are the nature, prakriti, and the spirit, purusha. And then the 6 coverings. These 6 coverings, until purusha and prakriti, we are still in the samkhya territory. So these are the tattvas that are presented in samkhya and in classical yoga. From this on, from the 6 coverings, the 6 kanchukas, we are entering the Shaiva territory, the Shaiva explanation of the world. These kanchukas are composed by Maya, which is the illusion, and Maya creates this illusion of limitation by using these 5 kanchukas, they are called. Kanchukas means something that limits you. It's, I don't know if it's correct in English. I will not use the word. It's like you have a very tight clothes, very tight covering. So, for example, if you are omnipotent in your divine manifestation, there is a covering that makes you less potent. You can do only some things, not all the things. If in your divine manifestation, you are eternal, you exist forever. When you are covered by illusion, you exist just now, limited in time, and so on and so forth. And then there are the pure elements. After illusion, there are the pure elements, and we will speak about those next time. So today we will focus on the samkhya tattvas, the classical tattvas, the yoga tattvas, and the next time we will focus on these Shaiva tattvas, the Kanchukas, and the pure tattvas, which contain Shiva, Shakti, Sadashiva, Ishvara, and Shuddha Vidya. Usually, these 36 tattvas, because in Shaivism there are 36, they are split in three categories. Shuddha, which means pure, like in those pure elements, Shuddha Tattva. Then the six coverings and Purusha are Shuddha Ashuddha. They are not so impure, but not so pure. They are in between. And then from Prakriti to Prithivi, they are impure Tattva. Impure in the way that those Kanchukas manifest the limitation, and the Atman, the self, manifest in the world as a limited consciousness. So this is the view of these 36 tattvas. And now we will explain them in some detail, not too much detail, but in some detail, to understand better what it's all about. In Shaivism, actually, Prithivi, it's a world in itself, because again, it's the extreme part of creation. Imagine that the divine energy, sure, in Shaivism, the energy has various manifestation, various forms, but imagine, simplifying a lot the things, imagine that the energy has to condense itself, to limit itself, and limit and limit and limit until the earth is the most limited form of energy. And we are a bit familiar with this concept when we think about physics. Yes, when you look inside the matter, and you look at the particles and subatomic particles, you enter a very strange world, because there we lose this illusion of materiality, of density, and an electron, for example, can be in the same time a particle or a wave. So in the same time, it's matter and energy. What creates the illusion of materiality and density is the bond between these particles, which is realized through energies. So what binds the particles together and create the illusion of density and materiality, it's actually energy. But this binding means that that energy cannot move. So from this Prithivi Tattva, it's earth, is not earth that we have in the garden. So I think everybody understands this. It's not the earth in the garden. It's the metaphorical earth. So that which is dense, unmoving, has a stable form, cannot change easily its form, and so on and so forth. So usually we associate earth with solidity, with everything that is solid. And the reason for this is this binding that energy creates between those subatomic particles or atomic particles. And it's interesting to understand this, because if we understand this, we understand the difference between earth and water. Water, which apas tattva or jala tattva, again, it's not the water that we drink or the tea that we drink. It's about the liquid form of matter. But what makes something liquid and something solid? What is the difference? Usually a liquid form has a slightly less strong binding between atoms. It has, in a way, more energy. The energy is not so much condensed. Yes, for this reason, if you have enough energy, anything that appears solid can become liquid. Yes, it's a common thing that we understand and we use all the time. So for this reason, Earth is a category in itself, because at that point is the maximum of condensation of binding. For this reason, the density and the inertia and all the things that are characteristic to Earth. But in the same time, we understand why they called this samkhya, resorption, because if you put enough energy, the solid becomes liquid, the liquid becomes fire, the fire becomes air, not air that we breathe, but the gaseous form of matter. And then if we continue, it's just space without anything inside it. So these are the Mahabhutas, the 5 great elements. They start with Prithivi, but in this process of resorbing the tattvas, Prithivi is resorbed in apas or jala. Apas or jala is resorbed in agni or fire. Fire is resorbed in vayu or air, and vayu or air is resorbed in ether or space. Sure, these 5 Mahabhutas are present everywhere in yoga. If you read, for example, Gheranda Samhita, which is a classical treatise on Hatha Yoga, they have their thing called Dharani Mudra, which is a way of concentrate on these tattvas, on these actually Mahabhutas. And it's like a meditation. They said you have to meditate 2 hours on each tattva, on each characteristic of these tattvas, and from one to one you become more aware of these characteristics of matter. So these 5 Mahabhutas are everywhere in yoga. Again, they are usually put in correspondence with chakras, Prithivi with Muladhara, apas with Svadhisthana, and so on, until Vishuddha with Akasha, ether. But it's not like very, very good correspondence, or I want to understand that a chakra is much more than just Mahabhuta, or Mahabhuta is anything, it's something else than a chakra. Sure, there is like, and you will see, there is like a way that everything reflects in everything. So the energy that is specific to a chakra, it's found in a Mahabhuta, in a Tanmatra, in a Karmendriya, or in a Gyanandriya. So is this correspondence that comes from up, down, and when we go back up, we found this uh, correspondence in everything. So I think you understand this framework in which we use these tattvas, and for this reason I will go uh, further. After these Mahabhutas, again, imagine that there are forms of condensed energy, not just matter, because sure, usually they are presented like they are just matter, uh, solid form, liquid form, warm and light form, air form, gaseous form, and space. But actually, they are just various degrees of energy condensation. And for this reason, it's easier to understand that if we uh, increase our level of energy, we go up on this tattva ledge of energies. And sure, when we speak about Earth, like I said, we usually understand this stability, strength, patience, nurturing, protection that is specific to this Earth tattva. And sure enough, in our uh, inner universe, we feel this kind of energy when we feel our material body, our flesh and bones body. And then when we speak about water or apas or jala, we usually speak about this higher level of energy in which the form is not so stable. Usually we say that the liquid gets the form of the vessel in which is poured. Yes, if you have a cup, it gets the form of the cup. If you have a jug, it gets the form of a jug. So it doesn't have its own form, but takes this form of the vessel in which is poured. It's an important thing to understand because jala or apas means that we can transform. We are not bound by our form. And for this reason, usually apas or water is associated with this purification and transformation uh, that we can do. And a lot of rituals are done by pouring water, pouring liquids, and submerging in liquids and such kind of things, regardless of the spiritual tradition. So we have the baptism in Christianity, or the rituals that are done in Hinduism when they pour milk and honey and a lot of other liquids, so on and so forth. Then we have tejas. Tejas, or fire, or agni, uh, is the power of transformation with passion, with intensity. Yes, usually fire means energy, and if you have this fire, you can transform Prithvi in in the earth, you can transform it in apas or make these kind of things possible. In our body, sure, if we speak about apas or jala, in our body it's everything that is liquid. The blood, the digestive liquids, the water that we have in abundance in our body, so on and so forth. But what is Agni or Tejas in our body? Usually it is everything that burns. Yes, we live, we exist in this material form through a process of burning. We burn every moment in each cell, and for this reason we have energy and exist. So this warmth that we have is created by this inner fire. Sure, there is this physical express in this process of cellular burning, but there is also that fire that digests the food, and in yoga there is this metaphor of Agni, which is in the navel area, that consumes soma. Soma is the nectar in the middle of the head, the immortality nectar, the immortality juice that is burned by this fire, and for this reason we are mortals, because the Agni consumes soma. For this reason, for example, we do the inverted posture, so the soma doesn't get burned by Agni, they say in Hatha Yoga treatise, or we do Jalandhara Bandha, or anything that keeps the soma in the head. But sure, for us, Agni means this power to change the level of energy from something which is bind and condensed to a more subtle form. Then we have Vayu, which is air or anything gaseous. Sure, in our body it's the breathing and this moving of anything, because specific to Vayu is the capacity to move, to fly, but also to move, to enter any space, because what is specific to air is this capacity to enter everywhere. Yes, to embrace and find any space to feel. And again, in our body is not only the air, but also the movement of blood, the movement of neural impulses, and so on and so forth. And then we have Akasha, the ether or space. Usually it's not seen as something that exists, but more that there is the space in which everything exists. It's a form to make order, because for sure two objects cannot occupy the same space. Yes, they cannot be in the same place, or this kind of ordering creates this is created by this energy of the space in which everything exists. So for sure, when we explain it in this samkhara krama, in this resorption, anything that it's material, existent, it's resorbed in this space, becomes just space. But when you see it from the Srishti Krama point of view of manifestation, of creation, from this void of space, anything appears. From this void of the energy, by condensation, gradual condensation, appears air, fire, water, and earth. So these are the Mahabhutas, the great elements. Next comes what is called the subtle elements, the 5 tanmatras. So pancha again means 5. Tanmatra is the subtle aspect of manifestation. Subtle in this case means the way we can know things. Sure, we use our senses, but these senses are open to a very small or narrow gap, or how do I say, it's like we only can see a narrow part of the reality, not all reality, but only a small part that is available to us through senses. Sure, the science advances help us to see what cannot be seen or sensed, but it's not like we actually see. What the science does, translate what cannot be seen in what can be seen, is a translation. It's not like we actually have the senses to see, I don't know, ultraviolet or infrared. We just take with an instrument that band of information and translate it to what our senses can see. So these tanmatras are this kind of what we can perceive in the world. And they refer to the qualities that all the things have that we or our senses can perceive. For this reason, they are called the subtle elements, because they are like the qualities of the any object that exists. Quality sure means that it's about the way we can sense the things around us. But it's not only about our physical senses, but also the subtle senses. Because you see, our mind, it's like a scientific instrument. Takes what cannot be perceived and translate it in what can be perceived. So for this reason, when we practice an asana, the way we feel the energy moving through our body, it's specific to our person. Some person can see colors and express the way that they feel the energy through color. Some can sense a vibration and feel like when they feel the chakra, they feel the vibration of that chakra. Some feel warmth, some feel cold, some just feel something that cannot be translated, some mysterious thing. But usually the mind tries to make the unseen seen by this process of translation, and these tanmatras are like the qualities that can be understood by the mind. So when we speak about gandha, which it's called the smell, it's actually the medium, the subtle matter that make possible the olfactive, the smell of an object. So gandha is what is perceived by the olfactory sense. By sure, usually we use the nose, but can be anything. Some people can smell by the hands, or I don't know. And actually, again, what it's someone asked, we have 7 chakras and 5 tattvas. We don't have enough tattvas for ajna and sahasrara. Am I right? Or what we have for 6th and 7th chakra? Like I said, this association between tattvas and chakras is not perfect, and it's not something that is usually in the text is done. And again, when you hear about 7 chakras, it's only one system of chakras. There are systems with only 5 chakras, there are systems with 3 chakras, there are systems with 12 chakras. Chakras are just some way in which we can explain the level of the consciousness. And this 7 chakras system, and if we are correct, it's only 6 chakra, because the sahasrara is just the way in which we connect with the divine, is not actually a chakra. But anyhow, this 7 chakra, it's used in West more because it's easier to connect with the psychological states of the mind. It's easier to understand. Yes, the sexuality is connected with Vadhisthana, the anger or will is connected with Manipura, the love is with Anahata, and it's much easier to understand from this point of view. But again, it's not like one to one. Ajna means, actually, Agnya chakra means the place to control the energies. So if we want to speak about this, Agnya is just the place in which you control all the 5 chakras below. And for this reason, it doesn't need to be connected with tattva. And like you see, there are 20 tattvas, 24 categories of 5 that can be correlated with the first 5 chakras, because sure, earth is connected with the smell, with the organ of action that is the excretory organ, anus, and with the nose that can smell. And all these are connected with Muladhara, but they are different levels. Even if they are Muladhara, they are different levels, higher and higher. So it's a very complex world, and usually we try to simplify it as much as we can, but we just use some models of reality that are for sure limited. I hope this helps. So again, getting back to, and if you have questions, it's better to just open the mic and put the question, because if you write them, I cannot see them easily, and until I see them, maybe they are not relevant anymore. So if you have question, open the mic, interrupt me, ask the question, and then we will move forward. So again, getting back to Tanmatras, the subtle elements, they are this medium that can support the sense of smell, in the case of Gandha, the smell. And for this reason, you can have olfactory perceptions even in the astral plane when you are in in a dream or in the astral plane when you are not in the body. Then rasa means taste. The again is the medium in which we feel the taste sensation, the taste that anything can have, and what is perceived by the tongue as a taste sense. And you see, I don't know if in English is, but in Romanian for sure, we call something that has a bad taste or a good taste. It, I think in English too, it left a good taste in my mouth. It's like a situation in our life can be felt like a taste. Then we have rupa, which is about form and color. It's again what can be seen, not the actual form, because you can see even without your eyes, with your mental eyes. Then we have sparsha, which is the touch, or the is not the touch as in touching, but what you feel when you are touching something. For this reason, we call it texture, the quality of something when you touch it. And in Shaivism, the touch actually has a very special place, because they say is the only sense that can remain even when you have a higher state of consciousness. It's like you embrace things, you uh, you touch them. I don't know how to explain it, but it's the only sense that can remain in samadhi. Then shabda, the sound, is the sound, is what we hear, is the medium for the auditive sensations. And these are the 5 tanmatras, or again the subtle elements or the qualities that can be sensed, can be perceived. And then we have karmendriyas, or the organs for action. Yes, someone has a question.
I have a short question. I hope you can understand me well. To the 5 gross elements.
Yes.
I was a bit irritated because it's the transformation of matter, as you described it, as a form of condensed energy, is not in line with the physical, scientific transformation of energy, of condensed energy, because fire as a form of plasma comes after the gas form. Like if it would follow, like if it would be in line with the actual scientific knowledge we have, which is most of the cases, actually, it would be the Vayu tattva following the Apas tattva, and then Agni would come.
Yes,
So
yes, I understand. I understand what you ask, but
if there are philosophies where it is in line with this, or is it just like
yes, Agni actually is not plasma. I understand what you say, but Agni is not plasma. Plasma is sure for the people when this philosophy appeared. Plasma wasn't understood as a way of matter to exist, but just this kind of warmth is not like sure what you say is correct from the scientific point of view, but in this philosophy they don't think about Agni as actually plasma. Fire that we can see is not actually plasma, is just plasma. It's very hard thing to come by. It's a form of matter that is not easily acquired. And again, it's just a model to look at reality. Like I said, is not scientifically from this point of view accurate, but it's a way to understand how sure if the energy increase, the transformation appears, because in a way they present like sure the earth goes to water, water to fire, fire to air, and air to space, but actually the earth goes to smell, to organ of action, to organ of knowledge, and then it's got into the mind, and then intellect, and then ahamkara, the ego, and then to prakriti. They are not going one in other, but mostly from this plane to the next plane to the next plane, and every tattva has its path. So if you look at them from this point of view, it's not so much about the order, but about these planes of existence.
Okay, thank you.
I hope it's much clearer.
Now it's clear, it is. Thanks.
And sure, from the philosophical point of view, fire it's seen as the one that transforms the more dense forms of matter in more subtle forms of matter, and for this reason is placed in this part, because here is the digestive fire, and the anger is felt like a fire in the abdomen, and for this reason it's seen like this. And they are not like the elements that we know from the science. And these kind of inconsistencies you will encounter a lot, because again they are trying to express something that it's not actually in this way. But I hope it's more clear. And for sure, when we will do this samhara, we will speak that we will feel the earth, we will feel the water, we will feel the fire, we will feel the air, but then Mahabhutas are resorbed in Tanmatras, Tanmatras are resorbed in Karmendriyas, Karmendriyas are resorbed in Gyanendriyas, and so on. So, the 5 organs of action. First, it's called Payu, which means anus, but actually it's the organ responsible for excretion. So we can say that it can be anus, but it can be the urethra, it can be the transpiration glands, I don't know the scientific term, and anything that help us to return the things that we cannot use and we don't need to the nature, to the universe. And for sure, it's an important place, because corresponding with Muladhara is the place where it's Kundalini in traditional Hatha Yoga, it's sleeping, and if you want to awaken that, you can use a lot of things that use the anus, like Ashvini Mudra, the horse gesture, or Mula Bandha, the root lock, that act on that region. Then we have Upashta, which is the sexual organ, or the organ that enables procreation and sexual enjoyment. And again, you see, it's like a generic term. It's not just the sexual organs, because if you enjoy kissing sexually, then the lips are the sexual organ. Yes, it's like more like the generic term for this kind of creative manifestation. But sure, in the body, it's manifest as an energy in the sexual organs. And we can understand that all this confusion that appears between uh, uh, this confusion that appears in sexuality, in which sexual organs doesn't mean something anymore, and you can express your sexuality in various forms. We can understand that this upashta is manifested in a plane that is not the physical plane for those persons. Then we have pada, or legs. Again, is the organ that makes possible walking. But you can walk on your hands, or you can walk just crawling. So again, usually it's the legs, but can be anything that make possible for you to go from one place to another. Then we have pani, or hands, and in this case it's the organ that allows you to grab things, to touch things, to manipulate things. And you can do this with the hands, but you can do this with your legs, you can do this with your mouth. So it's not just the hand in itself, but anything that you can use as an organ to touch, manipulate, grab things. And then we have vak, which sure is here translated as a mouth, but the word itself means speaking, or words, and it's about what we use to speak, to make sounds. So it's the mouth, but also the vocal cords, or the nasal cavity and the teeth, anything that help us to make the sounds of speaking or to communicate. So we can communicate using the hands, using the face, and in this way we manifest this organ of action, even if it's not mouth, the physical mouth itself. So these are the karmendriyas, the organs of action. Then we have the gyanendriyas, the organs of knowledge. And for sure, usually we have these five senses, but in various texts they put the mind together with this, because actually we don't sense with the senses, we sense with the mind. Yes, but we will see in a bit what is the role of the mind. Until then, these five organs of knowledge are the nose, grana, which is the organ with which we experience smell. Then rasana, which is the tongue, the medium by which we experience taste. Chakshus, the eye. Tvak, the skin. And shrota, the ear. Again, it's the senses, and we can see them as the physical organs, but also the energies corresponding to knowledge, to that make possible knowledge using these various windows of knowledge. So sure, when you meditate, you can feel a smell that is not in your room, but it's a subtle smell. And for sure, you will not feel it with your nose, but with the subtle uh, organ of uh, experience and smell, but which is called grahana, or sure, we call it nose. And now we will get to more interesting things, because these 20 tattvas again try to explain the universe as we see and experience it. And it's a way to look at the universe, and it's a good enough model. It's not a perfect model, but it's a good enough model to explain these various levels of existence. And looking at them as energies, it's easier to understand them. But the inner organ, or it's called antahkarana. Sure, here you can see, sorry that I forgot to change the slide. So here you can see how it's spelled, but it's not important to remember these Sanskrit things. Maybe just Gyanendriya's, how it's spelled, because those are more common, but the actual name, nose, tongue, and etc. is not etc. is not important. So we have this inner instrument. Some people call any of these three things being an antahkarana. Some call all three together antahkarana. Some include in this prakriti also. Some keep it outside. I prefer this this way, in which antahkarana, this inner instrument, is composed of manas, buddhi, and ahamkara. Sometimes this is called chitta. Chitta means the individual consciousness, as opposed to chit, which is universal cosmic consciousness. So chit, it's the universal consciousness, but when it's limited, becomes chitta, the limited consciousness. And let's see what any of this means, because sure, this understanding can help us much in meditation to understand what is happening. So first of all, it's manas. Manas usually is associated with the mind. Why I said that antahkarana is chitta, because when you read, for example, Yoga Sutras, the second sutra says yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga means the stopping, the cessation of the vrittis, the agitation, and usually is translated agitation of the mind. But you see, chitta is not only the mind, is this inner consciousness which is composed of the manas, which is the lower mind, buddhi, which is the higher mind, and ahamkara, which is the ego, or the instrument of the self. And it's important to understand, because a lot of times in translations, chitta is translated as mind, but is not simply the mind, but all this inner organ, this antahkarana. And manas, which is actually the mind, you will see is just a part of this consciousness, individual consciousness, chitta, which has to be quieted for the yoga to happening. So what this lower mind does? First of all, manas is the one that creates thoughts, which in Sanskrit are called vikalpas. So manas is the one responsible for thoughts. And it's the place in which the senses interact with the inner part of the consciousness, with buddhi, ahamkara, or even purusha. It's like manas gets the information from the world, creates an image about this information, and presents this image to buddhi, ahamkara, purusha, and such. Because manas is not like a very accurate instrument. So manas usually when gets the information, filtrate this information. For this reason, two persons that participate in the same event, if you ask them separately about that event, one person can tell you something and the other person can tell you something quite different. It's like they were in two different places. Why? Because the mind of each person get the information, make the image, and that image is depending on the experiences, knowledge, a lot of things. It's like a filter that we have, and manas, this mind, this lower mind, is like a filter that filters the experiences and creates this inner image about the world. So for this reason, someone can see some things and not other things, and other person can see other things but not the things that the first person saw. It's clear enough, hope. So for sure, usually the mind is called the undisciplined manas. It's called the undisciplined mind, the mind which is agitated and give us the sensation that it does what it wants and not what we want. But usually the mind, this lower mind, manas, it's like a robot, like a mechanism. It doesn't have free will and just acts according to a inner program that it has. And this inner program again is created by samskaras. Samskaras are those impregnation, those marks that any event let in our subconscious by all the information that we get in our life, what we read, what we see in television, what we speak with our friends. All these create those mechanics that mind uses to filter the reality. So in the manas, everything is about attraction and repulsion. What gives me pleasure, what gives me pain. I want more pleasure, I want less pain. Yes, it's for mind, it's like that simple. More pleasure, less pain. So if it has to choose, usually before we think about it, our mind knows, I want more pleasure, I want less pain. It's instantaneous, it's like right now. But the order that we use, it's the Shaiva order, because in other texts they see Buddhi above Ahamkara, but in Shaiva they see Buddhi below Ahamkara, because um, Ahamkara is seen as the instrument of the Aham, of the self, of the higher self. Even if it's the ego, it's an instrument of the higher self. So for this reason, we have first the Buddhi. Buddhi, it's called the intellect, is the higher mind. If the manas is the lower mind, Buddhi is the higher mind, which is about decisions. So if the lower mind acts using this pleasure and pain. I want more pleasure, I want less pain. And again, the mind, the lower mind, manas, it's the place in which we get the information, but we transmit the command for action. It's this two-way street. Yes, I do more of what I like. I don't like, I do less of what I like. I don't like. It's like this. But Buddhi, it's capable of a higher understanding. For if we let Buddhi analyze a situation, he can choose something that we don't like, but we know is good for us. It's like when we have to take a medicine, bad tasting medicine. If we only let the manas, the lower mind, we'll never take the medicine because it's bad tasting and doesn't want it. But Buddhi understand it's a bad tasting medicine, but it will do you good in the long term. So you will do something that you don't like because it will do you good. So it's a place in which we can judge and understand things, discriminate between different possibilities and choose, actually choose, not just make this reflex action based on this simpler pleasure and pain. And in a way, we can understand this process because when we are small children, yes, we have the Buddhi is not yet accessible, and we only have manas, and we judge everything. I like, I don't like, and for this reason is hard to convince a little child to take a bad medicine. Yes, because he doesn't understand why he have to suffer now for feeling good later. But as we evolve and use more of this discriminating power and we understand, we can take decisions and do actions that are more informed, and even if they are not good in the moment, we understand that there is a reason for this, and later we will feel better, or we evolve, or we will progress in our life. So for this reason, Buddhi is seen like this upper part of the mind, and for this reason it's better not to rush in decisions and use your power of discrimination, of understanding, and analyze the situation and then take informed decision using your higher intellect, not just your lower mind. And for sure, when we meditate, we elevate our consciousness to this higher level, because Buddhi, it's seen as this higher part. For this reason, usually people in Samkhya see Buddhi closer to Purusha and Prakriti because it's this higher mind. But in Shaiva, Ahamkara, the ego, the one that says, I do this, I feel this, I know this. Yes, it's assume the knowledge and action. It's like the mind say something is perceived, Buddhi says this is good or bad, and Ahamkara says I am the one that is seeing and feeling it's good or bad. Yes, it's this kind of assuming the action. And in Shaivism, aham means I, myself, yes, but it's not just the ego, it's about the higher self. And for them, aham in the body, it's the ego, but when evolves and gets past the limitation, aham, it's Shiva, it's the highest possible consciousness. And for this reason, they see ahamkara, the ego, as being a higher principle. It's aham that looks towards the universe, towards matter. And for this reason, they say ahamkara is the subjectivity connected with objectivity. So the subject, the one that is conscious, it's connected with what is conscious about, what it's aware about. Because then we have Purusha, the spirit, which is again aham, but it's an aham that looks towards the higher places, towards subjectivity. It's the same aham, but in a level it looks down, in the other level it looks up, and then it's just up. It doesn't look anywhere. And the last two tattvas of Samkhya are Prakriti. Prakriti is the nature. And it's seen like, sure, Prakriti and Purusha are the reflections of Shiva and Shakti. Shiva and Shakti are the higher principles without limitation, but when they are limited, they become Purusha and Prakriti. And if you read Yoga Sutra, you saw that every sentient being has Purusha and Prakriti, has a spirit and the nature that manifest things. But also the universe has a spirit and nature. We exist in an universe that is manifested by an universal Prakriti. Prakriti, usually in classical yoga, it's seen as having those three gunas, those three qualities: rajas, action; tamas, inertia; and sattva, equilibrium and luminosity and everything that's balanced. And those three gunas usually are in some way imbalanced. Some of them are more predominant than other, and in this play of these gunas, all the tattvas are created. So Prakriti is seen like the force that creates all the tattvas that are the universe as we know it. Prakriti is the creative force of spirit, of Purusha. And sure, Purusha is this aham, I, connected, like I said, with subjectivity, with the higher self. And in classical samkhya and yoga, the goal or the practice is to reveal, to understand this Purusha quality of existence. Even Ishvara, God, is seen like a special Purusha in the sense that he doesn't have to evolve. It's already perfect and doesn't have the need to transform, and is not affected by karma, and is omniscient and knows everything and such, but it's only a Purusha. Even it's a special Purusha. So these are the classical tattvas or samkhya tattvas. So we will continue now with the meditation, but before that, if you have any questions before we start the meditation.
I have one small organization question.
Yes.
Where do we find things? Where do we find the recordings?
Usually they send you all the recordings of the lessons. If you don't have them, write to me or to the Hridaya, and they will send you all the things that are all the lessons that are recorded until now. I have the YouTube version. They have this. Okay, someone send you a link for the recordings. It's good also for me to see the place and to send them to all of you. And the reason that I did this kind of presentation with the text is to have them on record, and when you see them, you can take notice, and if you cannot participate at some point, you can see the lessons from. Yes.
I also have a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you
please. Yes, I hear you. I hear you.
It's about Purusha. I guess you're gonna speak more about that the next time because you're gonna see the higher tattvas included in the Kashmir.
Yes, because we will speak about how this Purusha is constrained by those Kanchukas, and how removing those constraints transform Purusha in Shiva. But
Yeah.
what is the question?
Can we say now that it's just witness consciousness? In you can say in Samkhya philosophy, Purusha would be the witness consciousness.
Yes. In Samkhya, it's the witness
And
consciousness.
you have all the other beyond the Kanchukas, you get the divine quality, but initially it's just pure witness consciousness.
Yes, the interesting thing about Shaivism is that is the same consciousness. The same consciousness that is ahamkara, the ego, the same consciousness that is Purusha, and the same consciousness that is Shiva. But it's in different grades of constraint.
Yeah.
And sure, when you start to exercise this witness consciousness, at first it's just the ego. It's like this. It's just the ego that observe things and say, I see that, and I see that, and I see my mind, and I see the processes inside me, but it's just the ego. Then when this process of mentalization, of expressing things in verbal way sees, then we get to this Purusha that experiences the world but doesn't need to make a story out of it. And sure, this is a higher witness consciousness that just, like you said, it's the proper witness, because just witness the world. But then higher than that, it's a higher witness. And sure, the Shiva is more than a witness because it actually participates in the world. It's not, and this is another beautiful thing. The consciousness in Shaivism is not removed from the world. When we think about witness consciousness, is like someone says, "Stay here above our head and looks at what we do and what we think," but actually, it's inside of us. It's from inside that he feels the world and experience the world. And it's a very, very beautiful thing to understand that is not like when you are witnessing the world, you are above it and don't connect with it. You are just in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I also the Hridaya style of meditation bring more this awareness.
Yes.
When you from the point of view of just sastra, then it tends to be like I'm outside, but with the Hridaya meditation, it's
yes,
much more.
It's from the heart, and this it's making you being in the world, not outside, and just looking detached. And sure, from a point of view, you want to be detached, to don't be touched by anything that happens, but you see the view of Shaivism and the spirituality is the Shiva, God, came into the world to experience the world, not to be detached from the world. So he doesn't want to just look from the outside, like you look at the movie and don't feel the things immediately. He wants to be there. And sure, from our ego point of view, and actually from our manas, our lower mind point of view, it hurts me. It's difficult. My heart hurts and my things hurts, and I don't want this reality because it's not satisfying. I want that which is beyond and above, but it's not like this. It's to understand that the being in the world, it's actually an interesting way to experience the world with good and bads, because this is the salt and pepper of existence, which make it more tasteful.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now let's see what this meditation is about. It's usually has different names: Tattvalaya, dissolution of tattvas, or Samhara Krama, the sequence or the path of resorbing or retracting the manifestation. But what is about? We spoke about bhavana last meeting, and if you weren't sure, we will get back to this idea because it's an interesting way to experience meditation. But this bhavana means to open yourself to the possibility of experiencing these realities, looking at the tattvas as realities, ways of existence. And sure, we called this bhavana last time the mystical intuition, because it's not like we try to make a story out of it, but try to experience it. So we will get from tattva to tattva, trying to understand beyond the mind what that energy, what that tattva means. And for sure, I will say now we will be aware of Prithvi tattva or that, but try not to think too much about it. Just open yourself to this experience of what that tattva means. It's a bit hard because we are used to just make a story out of it. So if we have to be aware of the Prithvi, we will start to think, oh, solid, inert, not moving, has it's a square, because usually Prithvi Tattva is associated with a square that is yellow-brown in color or yellow-orange in color and such, and has that mantra or that mantra. But try not to think too much about it, but try to understand in your body what earth means, which means your flesh and bones. Mostly closer are bones, which are dense and solid. Just try to feel what this means. And then when we go to the apas and such, just try to experience it with your bodies, the physical body, the subtle body, and so on and so forth. What this will accomplish, it's sure there are various ways to look at it. In a way, you will understand more this play of energy, the way in which it takes various forms to make this world possible. And sure, it's a interesting experience to have. But you can look at it from the Vedanta point of view. If I can experience it, I am the subject, I am the one who has this experience. And it's in a way that neti, naiti, not this. If I can experience, then I am something more subtle. What is that? And sure, this Tattvalaya, it's about this, going more subtle. Yes, I am not this dense body of flesh and bones. I am not this fluid body of blood and different fluids. I'm not this body of warmth and burning, of transformation of nutrients in energy. I am not this vayu, breathing and moving about in my body, and so on and so forth. You understand these 2 points of view. From a point of view, the way in which energy takes various forms, and from the other point of view, I am something more subtle than this, more subtle than this, more subtle than this. And again, use bhavana. Yes, use that openness of your heart and mind to let the experience be without creating a story about it. Use this mystical intuition. And we'll close our eyes and straightening our backs, getting in a comfortable position for meditation. Close your eyes. Shoulder a little to the back, opening the chest in a attitude of openness and centering ourselves in the middle of the chest, a little to the right, that place that we feel and live as a center of our existence, the place that we call I. We can use the breathing, finding that middle point between inhalation and exhalation, where the mind remains suspended for a second or two between breathings, between thoughts. Helping us to enter that inner space, Hrit Akasha, the space of the heart. And from here we will start that tattva, the dissolution of the tattvas or samkhya krama, the way of returning to the essence. We will start with the Prithvi tattva, the earth tattva. Doing that bhavana, opening ourselves to experience earth principle, solidity in our bones, the form of our body made possible by muscles and bones. We try to feel the energy that is specific to Prithvi Tattva, to the earth principle, earth Tattva, without making a story out of it, just opening ourselves. And now we get to Apas Tattva, the water principle, feeling more fluid, like we flow inside. It's like our body, it's less solid because now we are focused on the apas, the water quality of our existence, that takes the form of our body, the vessel in which is poured. We do that bhavana, opening ourselves to this mystical intuition of what apastattva means, what water principle means. And then we are aware of the Agni tattva or Tejas tattva, the fire tattva, the fire principle that transforms the nutrients in energy, that transforms the food in energy, the inner fire of digestion, of transformation. That dissolves all the impurities, we open ourselves to experience this fire. And then we open ourselves to Vayu Tattva, air principle, a breathing and the moving. Our body is more subtle. It has less density. We feel as we are air, light, without weight, floating. And then we open ourselves to Akasha Tattva, the ether, the space. We are becoming space. losing form. The only thing that remains is the center of our existence. And these Mahabhutas, great elements, are resorbed in the Tanmatras, the subtle elements. And we open ourselves to Gandha Tattva, the smell. We try to understand beyond thoughts using bhavana what smell means, what this quality of existence means, what this energy means. Keeping the mystery without explaining or creating a story. Trying to be the smell of the world. And then we open ourselves to experience the taste of the world, rasa tattva, using that inner openness, that mystical intuition to just know. This energy of taste, the taste of the world, the taste of ourselves. And then we open to Rupa Tattva, the form and color, the visual quality of the world, with all the nuances. The experience of seeing, what it means to be seen, to have a form, to have a color. Or various colors, different shades. To be a visual experience. And then we open ourselves to Sparsha Tattva, the touching quality, the texture, what it means to be a texture, what someone feels when embraces or caresses or touches. What is the quality that we express? What is this energy that can be touched, embraced, caressed? And then we open ourselves to Shabda Tattva, the sound, the vibration that can be heard. What is the sound that we produce? The way we can be heard. What is the energy, the quality? And then these tanmatras are reserved in the 5 action organs, organs of action, karmendriyas. So we open ourselves to experience payu, anus, the energy that help us to get back in the universe, anything that we cannot use. To reintegrate in the nature. And then we experience Tupashta, Tattva, the sexual organ, the creative power to bring to life something that does not exist, to feel the pleasure of unity, in a sexual embrace. That creates love. What is this energy? We do that bhavana, opening our mystical intuition to experience this capacity to act upon the world creatively. And then we get to pada, tattva, a tattva that allows us to move from one place to another, from one world to another. Our legs, both physical legs and metaphorical legs, that allows us to experience distance and space. What is this energy of movement? And then we get to Pani, Tattva, hands. We can know the world by touching it, using our hands. We can modify the world using our hands. We can heal. We can speak with our hands. We can embrace. What is this quality? And then we get to Vaktadva, mouth, the organ of action that allows us to speak, to communicate, to express thoughts and feelings, to transfer knowledge. What is this energy, how it is filled? We do bhavana, opening ourselves to this experience, beyond thoughts, beyond stories. And these karmendriyas are then resorbed in the 5 jnanendriyas, organs of knowledge, and we open ourselves to the experience of the grana tattva, the nose, that which help us to smell the world, to get this quality specific to the smell. And then we open ourselves to the rasana tattva, to the tongue, that allows us to taste the world, to feel this savor of the world, how it can be felt on the tip of our tongue. What is this energy? What is this quality that allows us to know the world through taste? And then we open ourselves to the chakshus tattva, the eyes that can see the world, experience it as form and color, as light and dark. How is this energy? We do that bhavana using our mystical intuition to experience Chakshus Tattva. And then we open ourselves to Tvak Tattva, a skin, in which we can experience the world through touching, embracing, caressing, feeling with our fingertips. How is this energy? And then we open ourselves to Shrota Tattva, ears that allows us to hear the world, to hear the sounds, to hear the pulsation of the existence of life, to hear that inner sound of silence, nada. How is this energy? We do bhavana beyond thoughts, beyond stories, just experiencing the way we hear the sound of the world. And these Gyanendriyas are now resorbed in Antahkarana, the inner instrument. We open ourselves to the Manas Tattva, the lower mind, the mind of pleasure and pain, of feeling and acting the world. How is this energy? How is this mind? This automatic mind? We just try to experience the energy of Manas Tattva, manifestation of the mind in its lower form as Manas. And then we open ourselves to Buddhi, illuminated mind, the higher intellect that allows us to discern between real and unreal, between good and bad, between pure and impure. This luminous mind quiet and pure. What is this energy? We do that bhavana, experience mind as buddhi. And then we open ourselves to ahamkara, the instrument of the self by which Atman interacts with the world as ego. The start of the witness consciousness that assumes the actions and knowledge and say, I act, I know. What is this energy? What is the quality of his energy? We open ourselves to this mystery without trying to explain it or making a story out of it, just being. And then we open ourselves to Prakriti, to the nature that creates this material universe, using the gunas, the tendencies, tamas, inertia, rajas, activity, and sattva, balance, luminosity. What is this energy, creative energy, Mother Nature, that nourishes and creates everything? We open ourselves to this mystery. And then we open ourselves to Purusha, the living soul, Jivatma, the inner consciousness, existing in duality but connected with the higher self, longing for non-duality, for this cosmic consciousness, even if it's constrained by limitations. We feel that inner longing, that makes us aspire to higher and higher realities. And from the perspective of Purusha, we look back to all the tattvas, now using Srishti Krama, the creative movement. We see Prakriti, the nature, manifesting Ahamkara, the instrument of the self, Buddhi, the luminous mind, the higher mind, Manas, the lower mind, Gyanendriyas, the senses, the organs of knowledge, Karmendriyas, the organs of action, Tanmatras, the subtle elements, and then Mahabhutas, the great elements, the gross elements, all this universe, an expansion of our soul, of our consciousness. And slowly we open our eyes and get back. So, how was it? If you want to share something or some questions appeared,
I have a question.
yes.
I was a bit confused with the contemplation of on the organs of action and the organs of knowledge, since we are kind of addressing same or similar parts of our body or of our existence, of our perception of the existence. I was wondering what is the difference of the contemplation and the meditation between the organs of action and the organs of knowledge.
Yes, sure. I didn't want for you to be focused directly on the bodily organs, but more of the specific energy. But if we want to understand better, the organs of action are oriented towards the world, and the sense organs of knowledge, are oriented towards self. So it's like two ways of seeing the world.
Kind of perception, and it's a kind of being emitted with my perception and receptive.
Yes,
Like kind of
yes,
Shakti.
yes, exactly. Imagine that even if we think about the way we function physiologically, we have two kind of nerves: motor nerves, the nerves that commands action, and sensory nerves, the nerves that bring information. So if we want to move our hands, for example, it's a continuous communication between the sensory and the motory nerves. So the motory nerves says move the hands a bit. The sensory nerves get back and says I moved the hands a bit. The motory nerves says move the hands a bit more. You understand, it's a continuous communication in which we act and feel the world. But is this orientation, uh, the action, the active senses, the active organs are oriented towards the world, and the sensory are oriented towards the self? And I hope
kind of contemplating the play of Shiva Shakti on the level of our senses, like how we perceive the world, the universe around us with our senses, because it's like this play of reception and action, as you
exactly. And there is a balance, because you cannot just feel the world, you have to act on that feeling, you know. So if you put your hand on a stove, you have to act on that feeling. It's burning, so I will retract my hand. You cannot just be in one or in the other. They communicate and interact with themselves. they say that the sense organs are sattva, the action organs are raja, and the tanmatras and mahabhutas, the material tattvas, are tamas. So you can see this in this way also. Rajas, the action, sattva, the balance, and tamas, the inert things on which we act. And for this reason, I wanted to do it 2 times. So we will do it the next time also, because discussing things will make the things more clear and will be easier. And someone asked, can you include the meditation in the replay? In the recording, maybe. And sure, the lesson is in its entirety on those recordings, so even the meditation. And also we will do it again next time, and then it will be also the Shaiva tattvas. And my take is try not to focus in karmendriyas and jnanendriyas on the physical parts of the body, because sure, if we say payu tattva anus, our mind will go to the physical part of the body, and it's not wrong, but it will be limiting. We will not feel the actual energy that's involved there, because we will be attentive on the physical part of the body. And sure, we can think, yes, in that part of the body this energy is more present because there is the bigger excretory organ, but then it's more than that, and we have to open ourselves to this more than that possibility, to that mystery of getting back to the nature, those things that cannot be useful anymore. I hope that helps.
Sebastian?
Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
First, thank you very much for this loving teaching. Very appreciate. I have a question. We have a pause for 1 month, isn't that?
What?
The next
we have a pause of 2 weeks, not a month. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yes, we will meet again, I think, on 12th of January. 12th January. Yes, because the retreat will be starting next Tuesday, so on 27 December, and will end around 5 or 6 January. So we will meet again on 12th. It's just 2 weeks.
Okay. I wanted to ask, what would you recommend then? It's a holiday and more time or so. What would you recommend to practice, like as we had different meditations so far? Just take one and keep with one, or what would you say?
Like I said in the beginning, what my feeling is that these lessons are more for deepening our Hridaya meditation. So if you can use what we learn here to go deep in our Hridaya meditation, it's the best. Sure. So the first one with that finding the sweet spot between inhalation and exhalation, it's a good start for Hridaya meditation. Then this bhavana, I am the self, tattvamasi, which we spoke about today, it's a good start to Hridaya meditation. So we can use what we learn here to go deeper in our self-knowledge.
Right. Okay.
But if you like some of these to do separately, sure, stick with one and do that. But for me, it's more like it helps me to go deeper in Hridaya meditation,
Yes, I understand.
because you can look at this self-inquiry from different points of view, and it helps you in going more deeper and
Deeper.
profound.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So, other questions?
I have more of a general question on the
Sure.
philosophy.
Sure.
In Tantra or in Kashmir Shaivism, the universe is kind of a projection of Shiva's consciousness, and Shakti materializing after, like in her dance around him while meditating. We are part of this play, but we are still in this realm of the consciousness of Shiva. So when we talk about being Shiva as well, we are just talking about the consciousness and being part of the consciousness, right?
Yes, but I want to make a small adjustment. Shiva and Shakti in Shaivism are seen as one. It's a very interesting idea. It's not like Shiva it's in a place and Shakti is dancing around him. Shiva and Shakti are one. They are seen as two tattvas, just as a mean to understand better this play, but they are always together. They are not separated. So consciousness and energy are the two faces of the same coin, like this. So if you have energy, there is consciousness. If you have consciousness, there is energy. They are not separated. For this reason, in Tantra is that saying that Shiva without Shakti is Shava, and Shakti without Shiva is chaos. So they have to be together in this. And for sure, we are in the same time energy and consciousness, or some say the energy of consciousness, Chit Shakti, yes, or Chit. We will speak about this when we will speak about the five energies: Chit, Ananda, Jnana, Kriya, and Icha. You will see it's a very beautiful way to look at the world from this perspective of, yes, there is consciousness, but it's an active consciousness. It's an consciousness that acts, is not isolated, or because sure, in Vedanta and in other places the consciousness is separated and the energy does anything and it's all the things, but in Shaiva they are together. Even in the lowest tattva, in earth tattva, Shiva and Shakti are there together. Sorry, you wanted to say more.
That's everything. I will just wait for the next lesson then, and then if I have questions, I will just ask again. So thank you.
Thank you also, and I appreciate the questions. So I think it's late. I don't know, for you maybe it's not that late. but I saw that a lot of people already left. And I wish you happy holidays and enjoy Christmas and New Year with your loved ones. And see you again on the 12th. Let me check, but I think 12th of January it's the next meeting. Yes, on the 12th. So we will do a 2 weeks break for the retreat here. So namaste and
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas
Merry
to all
Christmas.
people of Kamala and all
Thank
the
you.
colleagues.
Thank you,
you very
Sophia.
much, Sebastian.